Here we go. You can follow Will on Twitter at Injury Expert, as always, apropos, because nobody is better, because he is the injury expert, always willing to fill us in on what's going on with the latest injuries around
Will Carroll for you, sir.
The world of deportes. Will, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Will?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. I cannot complain. We're at Hialeah Park. We're at the poker room having some fun. So what'd you think Super Bowl-wise, my brother? What'd you think of the Niners coming up short?
You know, that was pretty much the game I expected. I thought it was going to be close. I thought it was going to be well played. I thought it was going to be closely matched. I thought Mahomes would be the difference. And, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back here. I don't think that was way out on a limb. But that was a good game. And that's really what I want. I don't have a rooting interest for either of them. I like Patrick Mahomes. I think he represents something very good in the NFL. But you know what? So does Jimmy Garoppolo. I think both of these teams could be back here next year and the year after that and the year after that. These are teams that are built the right way. I give a ton of credit to the Chiefs. I give a ton of credit to the 49ers for how they've built these teams. They haven't had to tear it down. They haven't had to rebuild. They didn't do things where they had to go out and spend a ton of money to kind of shore things up. They drafted well. They built things up. They filled the gaps where they could with free agency, and these are exactly what you want to see if you're a fan of any franchise.
All right, so let's talk about our local franchise. Jimmy Butler with the shoulder injury. What have you heard? Because he's not playing tonight. He's listed as doubtful, so he's probably out. What's the latest with that shoulder injury? Because we are concerned.
Yeah, this one concerns me as well. They've been very, very quiet about the specifics of it, so we don't have a good read on it yet. But certainly you have to worry about Butler just because he's such a shooter. Anything that throws off the mechanics of that shot is going to be problematic. You know, that's something that I don't think people understand about basketball is that, you know, if you have a knee injury, they understand you can't run, you can't jump. You got an ankle injury, you can't cut. But I don't think a lot of people understand what goes into the mechanics of a shot. These guys are out there practicing it over and over and over and over and over. If you think about somebody like Steph Curry, if you alter one little thing, it's like altering the mechanics of a pitcher. So if your shoulder is off, if you can't raise it comfortably, if you can't raise it, period, you're going to have a little bit off. If you've watched the return of Victor Oladipo here in Indianapolis, you've seen he's just not back to what he was, largely because that knee just isn't what it was. He doesn't have the confidence in it. He wears down pretty quickly. He's going to be back, but he's not 100% back yet, and that jump shot is where it's showing up. That's what I worry about with Butler, is that the mechanics will be thrown off, so I'll be watching this one closely.
How about Tyler Hero, the ankle? How bad is it? Because it was in some kind of a boot. Is that more to stabilize it, protect it, or is it how serious is it?
This one, you know, it used to be anytime you saw somebody on crutches, you got a little bit worried. But it got to be such a thing that, you know, oh, he's on crutches, we'll see. It's the same thing with a walking boot. It's just the automatic thing you do. You put somebody with any sort of foot or ankle injury into the walking boot. That in and of itself doesn't tell you anything. What you want to do is protect it. So that doesn't give us a good read. Basketball players and sprains, they've all had so many ankle sprains that it doesn't really mean a lot. They tend to recover from them quickly. They tend to have looser ankles. Guys don't wear the braces anymore because they need that mobility. Shoes, gosh, can you remember? It had to be 20 years ago when there was such a controversy about Kobe Bryant wearing low-top sneakers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, he's going to break his ankles. He's going to have hooks. These guys build up such strength and mobility in their ankles that even when they roll over, it's not as serious as it would be, you know, if it were you or me. We'd be hobbled for a week. These guys are back, you know, the next quarter. So, yeah, it's definitely concerning. But you have to understand, basketball players are basketball players. They're not one of us. Absent a fairly significant sprain, they tend to come back fairly quickly.
All right, let me ask you kind of an oddball question, but I think it is
You?
up your
Never.
yeah. But I think it is up your alley because it has maybe a little bit to do with injuries or therefore avoiding them. So walk us through what you think the Heat and their training staff will do to get a 36-year-old Andre Iguodala up to speed who has not been playing any kind of basketball until any kind of NBA basketball up until this point. So walk us through that, Will. What do they do there to try to make sure, you just can't throw him out there on an NBA court because then, his body will fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. I think this goes back to what's become a dirty word in the NBA of load management. But all this is smartly building somebody up and making sure they don't exceed their normal workload. If you were going to run, well, you're in great shape, If you were going to run a marathon, you don't just go out there and say, you know what, there's one Saturday, I'll go. You've got to build yourself up. It's not going to be that big a ramp. He's not starting from zero. It's not like Iguodala's been sitting back on the couch eating bonbons while he hasn't been playing. He's not in game shape, but he's in shape. He's a great athlete. So it's not going to take him long to ramp up to a certain level. But they're going to test him. They're going to know what he's done. They're going to talk with his physical trainers. They're going to talk with the people he's been working with. I'm sure there's been some physical therapists as well to keep him loose and limber. So they're just going to figure out what works for him, build him up smartly, and get him back on the court. You're going to see minute restrictions early. You're probably going to see the use of the G League, which I think is great. We've seen teams be less hesitant to put even the big-name players either in practice or even game situations with the G League. This is what it should be there for. And having those stars go down certainly helps promote it. So I think we're going to see a fairly quick but smart ramp up for him to get him back on the court because they know they have to maximize their time with him.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Jaylen Brown with the right ankle. What's the latest for the Celtic?
Yeah, again, this is an ankle sprain, not a terribly high-grade one, enough that it'll probably keep him out a couple of games. When you see minor injuries like this that are keeping somebody out of the game, again, think load management. He's going to have to rest at some point. So why push him out there when he is, say, 90, 95%? That's the time you get to rest him. So I think we'll see him miss a couple games. I haven't looked at their schedule to see if there's one that's particularly important. But, if you're getting one of the lower rungs, if you were coming up against a Golden State, which is weird to say, you would kind of find a way to rest against them. But I don't think this is going to be a long-term issue for him. I think you're going to see a couple games, and it's more about keeping him rested and ready for the playoffs and that run than it is anything about this ankle.
All right. Will Carroll, by the way, the injury expert, joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Injury Expert. Kyrie Irving is always injured. Now he's got a knee. What's the latest?
Yeah, again, it's Kyrie. Man, I just don't know what to make of this, dude. But on the other side, I'll take a slight left turn from Kyrie and just kind of shrug my shoulders and say Kyrie being Kyrie at this point. Where is Kevin Durant? We're at 9 months, almost 10, after his devastating Achilles injury that we all saw. And it was fluky, it was problematic, but you know what? I'll mention Kobe Bryant again. Kobe Bryant was the one that really changed how we look at Achilles injuries because he came back so well, so quickly. Everybody thought something was different. No, he just kind of changed the timeline by saying, you know what, I'm coming back in 9 months. Now we see people regularly coming back in that 6 to 9 month area. Kevin Durant isn't out there. Did something go wrong? We don't know. Is he practicing, playing, doing anything? I can't find any mention of it. People that I know that should know aren't saying, he's playing 3-on-3, that he's doing all the things we see guys who are coming back do. So if he's just sitting out the rest of the season, then isn't that kind of not only tanking, which I hate, but the most extreme form of load management you've ever seen? Has he been medically cleared? And if he has been medically cleared, why isn't he playing? If Kawhi and Paul George are being called on the carpet for not playing certain games because of load management. Why the heck aren't we talking about Kevin Durant not coming back? Because that's a guy who people pay money to see. I don't get it. Kyrie, man, he's just one of those guys who has to be 100%, and he's always going to seem to find things. And let's face it, they're not playing for anything. Having him out probably helps.
Now, the only thing is, was there any kind of a plan to bring Durant back this year? No, right?
Not that I've heard.
Okay.
I think they fully intended to keep him out on a non-medical basis. There's nothing that changes about the rehab. There's nothing that changes about the surgery. There's nothing that, and certainly they couldn't have known it at the time he had the surgery. This is just them deciding he's not going to play. And that's not necessarily a good thing. Think about what the Mets did with Matt Harvey, or really what Scott Boras did with Matt Harvey. They kept him out. They said, let's not bring him back at the end of the season. What's that going to gain us? We'll give him a full normal offseason. Where's Matt Harvey these days? I don't want that to happen to Kevin Durant.
Okay. All right. I like it. All right. Luka Doncic with the ankle. Is this ankle injury off of the original ankle injury?
Yeah.
Okay, walk us through this, please. Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's an exacerbation. What I worry about is anytime you see somebody who has these injuries relatively close, you worry about, did it fully heal? Then you worry about, is this something he's going to have for a long time? Now, we don't have a ton of background on Doncic. Obviously he's been known for a while, but European players, they don't often have the same kind of track record, or at least easily accessible track record. If you go all the way back to LeBron James, any of these players playing in the NBA today, we saw them in high school. We probably saw them in junior high. And everybody knows this guy had this. This guy had this surgery in college. And you kind of know the consequences of it. European players are a little more opaque, and I worry that Doncic is a guy who might have these small, niggling injury problems that get worse over his career. Obviously, the worst of that would be, a Dwayne Wade. Certainly, Dwayne had a great career, but at the end of his career, they were having to maintain him so much that, first, man, his quality of life went to zero, and maybe he retired a year or two early. He's still got a pretty darn good life. But you worry how much it took away from him. Doncic is a heck of a player. There's nobody just like him right now. So the Mavericks, great medical staff, they're going to be trying to figure out, how do we keep him from doing this? Ankle sprains are going to happen. Ankle sprains are part of basketball. You're going to land funny. You're going to step on somebody's foot. What you don't want it to become is a chronic situation that really starts to wear down him over the long term.
All right, good stuff there. Follow him on Twitter at Injury Expert. He is Will Carroll, joins us every Friday to go over some of the most important injuries. Maybe your fantasy team, maybe your sports investment. It's a segment you got to listen to. Will, as always, my brother, thank you for taking some time. Excellent information as always.
Absolutely. Hey, can I toss in one more real quick?
Of course.
Because I know you guys will be interested in. Tua was finally able to confirm exactly what the surgery was he had and where he had it. Ooh. He had it with Chip Root in Houston. That's what we thought all along. He's one of the top hip guys. He had an acetabular ring issue and has two small pins in the back of his hip putting things back together. Now, those will stay in place. It's actually mostly held together with glue. I know that sounds a little bit crazy. It's not glue like your little kids are gluing things together.
Wait a minute. But if it's Gorilla Glue, we're all right.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than that. It's really more like Bondo, like you would put on your car, like spackling a wall to basically build that bone up. So theoretically, he should be ready to go at the start of the season. Now, we haven't had high-level quarterbacks come back from this. I don't think any team is going to rush him back from this, but I think with Miami at 5, there's going to be a lot of teams looking at that Detroit pick at 3 to jump up. If he clears things at the combine like is expected, and I've been told that Lee Steinberg is going to be bringing not only the doctor that did the surgery, but Alabama's team doctor who treated him on the field and managed the rehab to Indianapolis for that exact purpose. I think he's going to clear the medical, and I think a lot of teams will be looking at him at 3 rather than 5.
Okay, so now, Will, having said all that, when you talk about that hip, and then in other words, they're trying to regenerate that bone, how long does that process take to regenerate that bone to get to the point where it is sturdy enough that they feel good about it? Is there a timetable for that?
Yeah, it's 6 to 8 weeks. Bones heal in 6 to 8 weeks, almost always. Now, do you want to go out and play football at that stage? No, absolutely not. You want to make sure everything's perfect. So will it take longer? Yes. What they want to make sure of is that his gait is right, that he's able to make all the throws. Is there a way to test whether this is ever going to happen again? It's not likely. You know, breaking the hip like that is very, very odd. You don't see it in football. It's not like his ankles, where there might have been a weakness, and now we've seen it on both sides. The bigger question that Tagovailoa is going to have at the combine is not about that hip. I mean, that's the first question they'll ask. But it's really going to be more is his body going to hold up? Because it didn't in the college game.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Behind an All-American line. And that's the part that's why I'm kind of off his bandwagon, because I just don't think that he's going to stay healthy. This is a league that plays more games. They're bigger, they're stronger, and they hit harder. It just doesn't add up. Doesn't add up.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right. Follow him on Twitter. At Injury Expert. Will you have anything extra on Tua possibly in the next week here on Twitter so people can check you out?
I definitely will have some more on there.
There you go. So make sure you follow him at Injury Expert. Find out the latest with Tua. Will, you're a stud, my brother. Great info.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You got it. There you go. The great Will Carroll, man. That was good. That was good. That was good nuggets right there. You want a nugget?